if you talk about affordability today, and I agree with a lot of the things that were mentioned about pharmaceuticals, we are facing actually a very similar situation, where a lot of people say, oh, ये तो routine test है, ये तो common test है, कहीं पे जाओ. You can do this test anywhere. It's very easy to do. But हाँ, specialized test है, तो go to a good place. It's like, for a basic primary care, go to any nursing home. For a good thing, go to a tertiary care hospital. The challenge is that diagnosis is your number one step before any treatment you do. If your diagnosis is wrong, you may have the same symptoms. You may be shivering, you may have fever, you may have headaches, you may have body aches. You go to give a sample, you don't know whether you have malaria or dengue or just a fever, and that diagnosis is not correct. If you've got malaria and you get treated for dengue, you 100% potentially that malaria could get much worse, could go to cerebral malaria. But more than that, you don't get treated for the right disease and you get treated for the wrong disease. So diagnosis is the most important step, which actually you start with the first step of healthcare. But considering it's such an important thing on basis of which doctors make decisions, we actually take it very lightly. We say, हाँ ठीक है, सब जगह से right report आता होगा. So this is an area which I really hope will get more attention in the times to come. Because as we see it today, because of the lack of regulation, because of lack of knowledge by consumers on what to do, where to go, where not to go. We keep hearing nowadays in the news about corruption and nexuses. You don't know whether there's a conflict of interest when a doctor is recommending or not. That's what the news agencies say. So the question is really, how do you know what's right and how do you know what's wrong? And how does a patient empower themselves by figuring out what's good for them and what's right in their interest and in their life? So the only few things that I can think of is, one is obviously look for organizations that are volunteering for accreditation, that are volunteering and saying, yes, I want to be checked, please come. So for example, we have agencies from the US who come once a year to come and check all our processes to figure out whether what we're doing is right and wrong according to global practices. And if we talk about affordability, we actually do testing in India. Even the best labs, we do testing at 1/10 the price that it happens in the US. We use the same technologies, we use the same chemicals, we use the same standard operating procedures, and we still manage to do it at that price. It's no wonder, which is why all the emerging markets actually are now looking to India to say, look, give us your expertise of how you're managing to do such global quality at such competitive and effective prices. The real question is going to be not how do we make diagnostics more affordable, more accessible, but how do we standardize it? How do we give that information to a consumer to make the right decision for themselves? So like we said, it can be accreditation. Second is history and legacy. It's about knowing that this organization has been around for X number of years. You know that they've been providing correct reports for certain number of years. And a lot of people feel, okay, should I change my lab regularly? I'll give you another very strange example. If you do your test in one laboratory and you get an X result, and tomorrow you go to a Y laboratory and get a different result, it will be completely different. And the reason is very simple, because not only does it differ based on your blood sample of that day, but it differs based on the equipments you use, the standard operating procedures you use, on the chemicals you use, the way you run the test, everything is different. So you actually can't compare results between laboratories. So you're almost, once you've gone to a place, you almost need to look at the trend pattern in that one particular laboratory to see how your health is facing up.